creepiest thing a boyfriend girlfriend has done? My ex apparently liked big girls. I was underweight when we started dating. Within about a month, I'd gained about 20 pounds. And eventually gained 65 pounds, about 5 months in. I was really freaked out and couldn't figure out why I was gaining so much weight. I hardly eat anything. It turned out that B was putting steroids and other things in my food and drinks to make me gain weight because I wasn't big enough. What the duck? Needless to say, I dumped his ass. And I'm proud to tell you all that I've lost those 65 horrific pounds and feel great. Oh. And my bob stayed big. I guess I should thank him for that. Edit, spelling. My husband talks in his sleep. One night I woke up to him howling. Then he sat up in bed, looked around the room and stared at me with a blank expression. Something you would see in a horror movie. The next thing I knew, he had grabbed my arm and was pretending to eat it. I was pretty freaked out by this point, so I asked him what he was doing. He replied, "They told me to." Rolled over and went back to sleep. On another occasion he was sleep talking and woke me up to tell me that there were people in the corner of our incredibly dark bedroom. I was dating this girl for about 6 months and she could never let me be alone. She always had to know what I was doing. Right before I broke up with her, I caught her looking through my window to see what I was doing. It wouldn't have been so bad if I didn't live on the second floor. Itch brought a ladder to my house, yo, see what I was doing in my room upstairs. My first boyfriend. High school. 7 months into our relationship I get a call from him under the preface of "There's something I need to tell you." What he had to tell me was this. About a year ago, when he was getting into drugs for the first time, his dealer friend picked him up to go to his apartment. And for whatever ducked up reason they decided to pick up a homeless person on the side of the road. When they get to the apartment they get super ducked up and his friend, out of nowhere, pulls out a gun and shoots him in the head. My BF said that he was under the influence of so much shit that his friend convinced him to cannibalize part of the homeless guy. And he hadn't told anyone except me. 3 months later found out it was a complete lie that he told to duck with my head because he felt I was getting distant and he wanted to make me care about him again. Oh. Also, he had never actually done any drugs. He was just a manipulative pathological liar. There, we aren't dating anymore. My boyfriend of the time and I were hanging out in my bedroom. My parents were home so we weren't doing much, but he started teasing me and fingering me under my skirt. Something starts to feel weird and I say so. To this, he pulls a quarter out of my vaginal, admitting he slipped it in a second ago. He also tried to act like it wasn't a big deal. I woke up to the sound of a set of scissors closing. I look up to see her holding a tuft of my hair. She looks down and says, "I'm going to keep this. So I have a bit of you with me all the time." I dated a girl for about 2 years or so. Meet her family and all that. Chatted to her dad once in a while. Seemed like an okay guy. Anyways, we break up. Not really clean, but really messy. But it happened. It is over. That was, say, 6 years ago. Anyways, out of the blue sometimes her dad calls me. Most of the time, it's like, "Hey, what's up?" and just awkward. Sometimes he crosses a line. "My daughter misses you." She didn't tell me that, but I can see it. A father just knows. I really wish you would have impregnated her. I always felt like family with you. I really wish you would think about giving her another chance. She has such a nice body. Just a great ass. Amazing tits. Tell me you don't miss that. Tell me you don't want to. Explicit stuff here that a father shouldn't ever say about his daughter. So, yay. Well, I have a cup of soup that is ready to eat. I should really get back to that and all. Would often wake me up in the middle of the night for sexy times. Which was awesome, but eventually I asked her about it and she explained it was because I looked like I was dead. Apparently I sleep with my eyes open and breathe really shallowly. When I was in college, a guy took interest in me and later that week, he gave me a present. a working key to my front door. Apparently he was a locksmith and had somehow memorized the pattern on my house key when I left them on my desk. I had to change the locks on my house. One girlfriend put Prozac in my cereal when I wasn't looking. Called me later to see how I was doing. And because I said I was having a nice day, took credit for straightening me out. I had an ex who I broke up with while we were still living together. She didn't take the breakup particularly well. Not only was she upset that I insisted that we move into separate rooms, she was bewildered as to why I thought us still sleeping in the same bed was a truly terrible idea. Twice I woke to her attempting to awkwardly position herself atop me in an effort to grate me in my sleep. Those times I pushed her off and screamed for her to get the duck out. Once she burst into tears and threatened herself with physical harm unless I complied. While woman on man rape is probably statistically less likely to be as physically traumatizing as the reverse, it's still just as emotionally scarring and outright horrifying. I had a girlfriend who would get really drunk, climb on top of me and think she was having sex with me. Mind you, we were fully clothed and just grind the crap out of my big dig while I was in jeans, and I would always be going commando for like 5-10 minutes and just ramble the whole time. The first time it happened it was funny. So was the second time. The fifth time when she started talking about pies and dinosaurs was when it got really weird and I realized I was dating a raging alcoholic. I am woken from a deep sleep. I do not know what is wrong. I feel an empty cold space next to me. My girlfriend isn't there. I scan the dark for her and spot a dark shape stood perfectly still in front of the mirror. My first thought is that I'm having a nightmare. She turns and seems to grab something from the floor before turning and walking very slowly towards the bed. At this point I am shitting myself. Literally terrified. I mumble her name trying to get some sort of human reaction. Sorry, did I wake you? She was taking her contacts out. But goddamn, it was nightmare material. Still check the mirror area when I wake in the night. Other than that, she is just lovely. D. My boyfriend looks me square in the eyes and says, "So, how do you know I'm not just a really patient serial killer?" I was in Vietnam 1967 to 1968. One of the guys in our hooch barracks had his girlfriend send him her used panties once a week. He kept them under his pillow. Her scent kept him sane and happy for the duration. Whatever works. Right? I'm going to go tell my wife I love her. Because I am now ducking petrified at the prospect of ever having to date again. I had a girlfriend who made a Facebook for me without my knowledge. Little did I know that she had kept it up even 2 years after we had broken up. The worst part being that she had updated pictures of me up until the day I had confronted her about it. She also knew what I had done and where I had been on exact dates. But she is a bold ex. She once, not too long ago, asked me out while I was with my current girlfriend. I don't know if this is creepy, but one time a girl and I got caught by my mom. I saw mom first, and my mom's pretty cool, so I didn't panic. I just kinda stopped what I was doing, we were just making out, and sat up. My girlfriend at the time fell over like she had fainted. Face first into my lap. She literally played dead right there in front of my ducking mom. I nearly laughed. And mom did laugh. Then to make it all worse, my troll of a mother decided to sit on the chair opposite us and light up a cigarette while she continued to play dead. It was probably the most amusing movement of my life. My ex was the most insecure person I've ever met. She felt as though she had to be around me constantly. If I ever did anything without her, even if she was working or otherwise busy, she sank into a depression that lasted for a day or more. One day I had a friend in town that I rarely got to see. He had planned a bit of a get together with all our mutual friends. Nothing big. Just a few guys sitting around talking about guy stuff. Anyway, I explained to her that I wanted to go see my friends and that I wouldn't be gone long. She then goes nuts. There are tears and snot pouring out of her face. She's yelling at me and I start yelling back. The argument escalates and she eventually yells through her crying, "All I want to do is get pregnant and have babies." To me that was creepy. Tried to break into my apartment that I shared with 2 other girls while I was out at a movie with a friend, male friend. Completely innocent. We're talking jiggling doorknobs, attempting to lockpick, scaling walls and trying the back doors and windows while my roommates were home. He eventually called one of the roommates asking if she was at home and could he come by in an hour. His campus was an hour away. Saying he'd left something in my room that he needed for class the next day. As this phone call took place, my roommate told me she could see him standing in the backyard. What the duck? Long time lurker. First time poster. But this one is brilliant. This actually isn't my story. This is actually a story told to me by one of my best friend's wives. They were recently married and a few days after they were married we were having a few drinks and out came the most amazing story. Several years ago in Toronto she had been dating a guy for several months and things seemed reasonably normal. They had just decided to live together, but before they did he wanted to share some things with her about his life. He had his own apartment and she was planning on moving in with him and knew that in his small apartment the second bedroom was always off limits. But he was a bit of a geek and a bit obsessed with video games and she figured it was a media room or a comic room and never really questioned it. So one day she was invited for lunch where he cooked for her and said, "Before you move in you need to visit my room." He told her that he thought the room was perfectly normal, but had been told by a previous girlfriend he needed to keep this away from people as they might not understand. As he took her into the room she was imagining a bunch of things. Torture chamber. Fetish room. Something really geeky. Something that revealed bisexuality or a porn fetish. Instead, what she saw was both unimaginable and unbelievable. She walked into the room to find, quite literally, thousands of urine samples and jars he had been stealing from the local hospital. For several years now he had been experimenting with different food-drink combinations to see what color his urine would be. As impressed as she was with the cataloging and the effort, needless to say this was the last conversation she ever had with him. I like to walk up very quietly behind my husband while he is brushing his teeth. If I time it right he will be looking down spitting into the sink. I stand just behind him and to the left and make some sort of crazy face. It creeps him out every time. I am chuckling just thinking about it. I dated a girl who, unbeknownst to me, had been shoving random things from around my apartment into her vag and or rubbing her vag on things. This came to light when I went into my room to get something when I thought she was in the bathroom. And she was actually in my bedroom masturbating with my pillow. In light of this, she comes clean about how for several weeks she had been rubbing her vag on everything she could and shoving anything that would fit inside it when I wasn't in the room. This was her explanation as to why. I read in a magazine that if men smell a woman's pheromones they will subconsciously want that woman around. I really like you. You're the best guy I've ever dated. I just wanted you to be super into me. He told me both of his parents were killed in a drunk driving accident and spent the next 10 days on vacation with another woman while I thought he was making funeral arrangements and executing their estate. Doesn't involve a girlfriend, but just someone that I hooked up with one night. After having sex with her I got out of bed. She asked where I was going and I told her to go throw the condom away. She then told me not to throw it away and to give it to her. Turns out she was keeping a collection of all the condoms guys had used on her. Needless to say I got out as soon as I could. Had an abusive ex of mine stop mid-coitus with this strange look of concentration in his eyes. I'm asking him what's going on. He ignores me. Just stays still and stares off. While still in me. He started urinating while still in me. He pissed in me. As if that wasn't the worst part. Then he blamed it on me. Said I pissed myself. His brother was a nurse. And told him it was impossible to have sex and pee at the same time. So he decided to try it on me. He was a pretty abusive jerk in general. But that moment kinda took the cake. Hid a pregnancy from her entire family. Gave birth in the backseat of her car. and cut the umbilical cord with a box cutter from work. Walked into her parents' house, where she lived, covered in blood, half naked, and carrying a baby. Her mom freaked entirely the duck out. Then she made me raise it for 2 months before a DNA test showed it wasn't mine. Well, it wasn't really a boyfriend. He was an ex still trying to get back with me, and he gave me a bag of dog hair. Have you ever brushed a dog? What the duck else are you supposed to do with it? Make another dog? XGF asked to drink my pee while I was peeing. Well, it is sterile. And she evidently liked the taste. I must say though, that's not as bad as that could be. She could have drunk it from the toilet bowl, or put it in bottles to drink when she wanted. Could you imagine drinking cold urine? Well, you're thinking about it now. Sorry dude. In Mexico about 10 or so years ago, I met a girl on ICQ who sent me pictures of herself holding snakes and stuff. She enjoyed the Necronomicon Lovecraft mythos. But more importantly, she was into me. She wanted to meet me. In her words, to drink my blood. Which of course, to my teenage mind meant to have sex. When we finally did meet, we were in my room and she took out a disposable razor blade. One part of me thought danger. Will Robinson. But another part of me thought, oh, kinky. I'm finally going to get laid. Thus, I decided to let her cut my forearm to see how far she would go. Thinking that it would be a superficial scratch and that the loving would commence afterward. I was wrong. She pressed down hard and managed to drag the razor about 1 centimeter before I said, you know what? That's enough. We're calling it a day. We got up and looked for a bandage or something. She didn't apologize but instead said, man, I wish you would have let me cut you. If you did, I would have cut your chest and drank your blood. I'm sure she would have. TLDR, if a girl says she's going to cut you, she probably will. And you probably won't get laid. My ex-boyfriend used to sleep with his eyes open, hardly breathing. I knew he was alive, but it was just so creepy I sometimes had to wake him up just to reassure myself he was okay. My girlfriend in high school made me promise to have sex with her dead body if she died. We haven't been together for years and I'm not sure if I'm still bound by this promise.